The Wrong Hostage of Oak Creek. In 1987, Oak Creek, Colorado seemed like the perfect place to live. A town of quiet neighborhoods, palatial homes, and a tight-knit community where everyone felt safe. However, behind those closed doors lay a fatal misunderstanding, a simple error in judgment regarding identity that would trigger a tragic chain of events, shaking the entire city and irrevocably altering the life of a wealthy family. Our story begins with a young woman named Sarah Miller, 18 years old and hailing from a modest, hard-working family in Nebraska. She had come looking for work to secure her future. Fortune seemed to smile upon her when she landed a job with the Harringtons, one of the region's most affluent and influential families. Sarah was not merely an employee. The family embraced her as one of their own, even providing her with a personal vehicle and covering her college tuition. Life appeared bright until that fateful night. Mrs. Harrington asked Sarah to run to the supermarket for a few items. Sarah left, but hours passed without her return. Midnight struck, and dread began to seep into the family's heart. Police were contacted, and the search began. The first shock came from within the Harrington estate itself. Investigators found Sarah's car in the garage. The engine was cold, and the grocery bags remained untouched in the back seat. There were no signs of struggle or violence. Sarah had simply vanished, as if the earth had swallowed her whole. Lead Detective Davis stood analyzing the scene when a terrifying hypothesis struck him. The abductor hadn't taken Sarah for who she was, but because he had mistakenly identified her as the daughter of the wealthy Harrington family. She drove their car. She lived in their home. Davis realized the deadly dilemma. If the kidnapper discovered his victim was not the heiress, but a modest girl for whom the family might not pay millions, he would likely eliminate her immediately as a witness. The police decided to play a dangerous psychological game. They placed a missing person ad in the newspapers, offering a substantial reward. The subliminal message to the kidnapper was, "We believe she is lost, and we are ready to pay." They were trying to buy Sarah time, convincing the captor she held financial value. But the phone never rang. Silence was the only reply. After days of heavy silence, the game shifted entirely. Mrs. Harrington received a phone call that made the blood freeze in her veins. The voice on the other end was cold and decisive. "I have your daughter." The mother rushed to the room of her 2-year-old child, Emily. The bed was empty. Detective Davis immediately grasped the situation. The kidnapper, having failed to secure a ransom for Sarah, had returned. He used the house keys Sarah possessed to enter and snatch the real child. To him, the toddler was the perfect hostage. She could not speak, could not identify him, and her family would pay anything for her return. Instructions arrived via a cassette tape recorded by the kidnapper, later identified as Richard Vance, a career criminal. The demands were clear: $300,000. The warning was explicit. Police involvement meant the child's death. Vance's plan was precise. Mr. Harrington was to place the money in a suitcase inside his classic car, drive it to an abandoned house a few blocks away, leave the vehicle with the engine running, and depart on foot. The window was only 30 minutes. The police had no choice but to execute a suicidal counterplan. As the father drove toward the location, a detective and an officer lay hidden in the back seat under a heavy blanket, holding their breath, hands on their weapons. The father arrived, left the car running in front of the abandoned house as instructed, and walked away. Silence reigned for seconds that felt like an eternity. Then, Richard Vance emerged from the shadows. But he was not alone. He held little Emily in one arm, his weapon in the other, using her small body as a human shield. He approached the car to retrieve the money. In that critical moment, he spotted unnatural movement in the back seat. He realized it was a trap. Without hesitation, Vance opened fire. Bullets shattered the glass, fatally wounding the hidden officer. Amidst the chaos and smoke, Detective Davis sprang from the other side. In a brutal act, Vance threw the toddler into the car to take cover and engage the police. The detective seized the opportunity, pulling the child down to the floorboard for safety. As Vance turned to face him, the detective unleashed a volley of gunfire. Richard Vance fell dead on the spot. The dust settled. Emily was screaming, but unharmed. The kidnapper was dead. A brave police officer had paid with his life to save the child. But the story did not end there. One question haunted everyone. Where was Sarah Miller? Police searched the abandoned house but found nothing. They expanded the search to the river behind the property. There, in an old, dilapidated boat, they found the painful answer. Sarah's body was discovered. The coroner confirmed she had been killed on the very day of her abduction. Just as Detective Davis had feared, the moment the kidnapper realized she was not the wealthy heiress, he disposed of her without mercy.
The case was closed in the police files. One member of the Harrington family was saved, while another family was destroyed by the loss of their daughter, Sarah. It remains a story that reminds us how a misunderstanding and human greed can turn the life of an entire city upside down.